Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Time is now 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. I want to thank everybody for joining today's TMC Connect web broadcast titled Social Survey, Creating WoW for Your Employees and Your Customers. Tom Gallucci, Vice President of Business Development with TMC, going to be kicking things off today. And we've got Social Survey CEO and co-founder Scott Harris with us, going to be leading us through today's discussion. So before I bring Scott into the mix here, just going to go through a couple quick housekeeping items for today's discussion. So just a reminder to our attendees, be sure to check out TMC Connect and the Mortgage Collaborative member event calendar pages on our website. You'll be able to see an updated schedule of upcoming TMC Connect web broadcasts. And I encourage you to keep checking in as we're going to be continually adding new sessions really based off the feedback of you, our partners and our members here at the Mortgage Collaborative. For today's discussion, whether you've dialed in or connected via your computer, all lines have been muted for the call. And that's not only to avoid any background noise in your area and to ensure that all attendees can hear today's presentation clearly. Now that said, we do want these discussions to be as interactive as possible. So please feel free to submit any questions that you have throughout the discussion, and I'll be able to verbalize those on your behalf with Scott towards the end of today's discussion. So how do you do that? Well, you can submit your questions either via the chat function or the Q&A box. And if you scroll your mouse to the bottom menu of your Zoom screen, you'll see both those functionalities available. Pop them up, type in any questions. I'll see them come through on my end, and I'll be able to verbalize them on your behalf. As a reminder, if we run short on time and there's any questions that we aren't able to get to, we'll go ahead and screenshot those and share them out with Scott for any appropriate follow-up. And in regards to today's call, will be recorded, will be available for playback. So for all registered attendees for today's discussion, we'll get access in a follow-up email tomorrow with a link to the recording as well as a copy of the presentation deck. And as we've been promoting in the run-up to this discussion, full registered attendees, due to the graciousness of Scott and Social Survey, will be able to get a copy of Scott's new book, which is called Create WoW Customer Experiences, and really provides a great playbook into how you can create WoW not only for your clients but throughout your organization. So highly encourage our attendees to give it a good read and add it to your summer reading list. So on that note, I want to bring Scott in here. As I mentioned, co-founder, CEO at Social Survey, a longtime partner of the collaborative. And in my time at TMC, no other partner has had more member adoption within the network than Social Survey is. So I think it's really a kudos to the value that the Social Survey platform brings to lender members of all sizes. So on that note, want to introduce Scott Harris, who we're extremely grateful for taking the time out of your busy schedule to lead today's discussion for the benefit of our members. And on that note, Scott, I'm going to turn it over to you to kick things off.
Before you mute yourself, Tom, I really like your apparel that you chose today.
Why, thank you.
I don't even have that one. I was looking in my closet for that one the other day. Don't get me wrong, I have 800 pieces, I think, as everyone does now with Social Survey. We love our apparel. All right, so let me get started. So let me start like this. We are partners with most of the collaborative. I'm not going to spend a lot of time today on product. I just want to follow the data with you guys today so we can see if there's anything that we can uncover that adds value. I'll show you how we're reacting to some of this in the new platform at the end if I have time, but for the most part, I'm gonna burn through and take some questions and I'll give some kudos in the beginning. Then I'm gonna talk about known issues. I'm gonna talk about outliers and the things maybe you should be focused on. I think I'll probably peddle another member's software more than my own today. So let's get started. First off, 4 of the top 10 in the country. So you got 40,000 or so loan officers in the United States that were ranked, and 4 of the top 10, which is a pretty disparate number compared to the whole, right? I mean, so our TMC members. So big kudos to Jonathan Reichenberg here, Kurt McClear and Drew Dodds. And once again, who always finds himself on the top is Giuseppe. He is a part of, I think, the VIP network. So I also want to give kudos to the partners who found themselves on the top of the list in the 4 categories. This isn't easy to do. We're going to get into some of the data and some of the complexities here in a second. But TMC had a lot of winners. So congrats to these folks. Mason McDuffie, I believe for a second time, won the category. I think they actually moved up category. I think they won small last year. So congrats to them and all the TMC members here. And then the number 1 large company who I think won medium company last year, I could be way off, but I'm going by memory here. The mortgage firm won a large company this year. So congrats to all the TMC members. They had a lot of the top buckled up. Now let's just talk about what we're learning. With the caveat that this is closed loans and that we should think about sort of how we progress in the future, and maybe start thinking about journeys differently and where we measure differently. But there is what I'm trying to make, there's a point I'm going to make here, and what I think it is that I want you to get from this is that there is less of a loan officer problem in the delta between the companies. And a lot of the times we have some operational inefficiencies that we should handle internally. For this conversation, and just to understand the data, I've spoken to many customers in both sides of the SAT spectrum, if you will. And while you would consider every one of them good, I think it'd be unfair not to just share with everyone, just what is the benchmark data? Who's winning? Who's losing? The number 1 company in our platform also has the most loan officers. That's an outlier. That shouldn't be like that. In fact, larger companies perform a little worse, not a lot worse. But the largest company on our platform has 0.44% detractors. 4 times that is this company on the right. Now, I'm going to tell you this right up front. I'm not telling you who's who, right? I would never do that to companies. But let's set it a baseline. There's lots of loan officers, and the top 50 in, let's say, the number 1 person in company B, we've noticed would not be in the top 50 of company A in some situations, right? If that's you, you're going to want to know that. You're going to want to understand, okay, what are we doing differently? Because it's not possible that all 50 of our top producers, right, or our top 10 or our 1 wouldn't also be in the top 10 at every other company, right? So then you have to start thinking, what's the data telling us? As you can see, there's between 400 and almost 500 and 200% delta just in the detractors. If you had the detractors and the passives, which are the OKs, then you see a whole different story. Again, the 90s are good numbers. They're exceptional numbers. But we're a competitive group, right? We want to win. I think this is telling us that there are operational efficiencies and inefficiencies that maybe we should look at. And so I've got some of the reasons, I've got some of that data I'm going to give to you a little bit later, but I want you to know there's a big difference between company A and company D. And they both do the exact same thing with almost the same number of loan officers. They're both distributed retail, and there's a disparity in SAT for closed loan customers. Probably should collect more data, and we probably should collect it at different parts of the journey to really uncover it. But I have some of that for you. Now, consumer direct. This should open your eyes. The delta is alarming. One company performs almost as good as some of the distributor retail groups. And then other companies perform very, very much different, very different. I mean, you got 22% of people that would not promote your company for group D here. 16.5% that would not promote your company for this group C. And these companies are nearly identical. They're not identical, but they're nearly identical. And you can't really say, I mean, we picked companies that basically distributed retail buying leads. And so buying leads, doing organic stuff, but it's a lead machine. So from our top 250, the numbers on the left indicate the way companies fared on our top 250. That's a hard list to make. Okay, but I think that everyone would agree that if 18% of your loan officers, you guys are probably thinking, what the hell does this mean? But in this case, 18% of company A's loan officers made the top 40,000, the top 250. 18% of their loan officers. It wasn't a small number. The next company, 9%. The average company, just under 1% of their loan officers made the list. Right? Nearly, or over half of the companies, well, probably closer to 2/3, had no one on the list. So what is that saying? What is that underlining? That one company can have 18% and another, and 2/3 of the companies had none. Right? What is the data telling us? Because I disagree that companies with 800, 1,000 users, loan officers, with no one on the list, it's all because their loan officers are not as good. Right? I know that not to be true. The top loan officer at the, you know, I think they had like 15 people on the list in this group, right? So it's not like they just had 3 loan officers and they're a small group. These numbers are, I mean, we expected everyone to get 0.8%. So there is a factor that it's a lot of folks would not get any people on the list, but when you look at companies that have dialed in every customer journey at a level where they have buttoned up every step of the loan process, the handoff, the communication, every piece of the puzzle, you can see, and our data shows us over and over again who those companies are. And we call them and talk to them, and they're talking about customer journeys and handoff and automated communication, some of the things I'm going to share with you here in a minute. Here's the top 10 and the bottom 10 for like companies. So this is where you really want to compare yourself on this, on the core Sat survey. So it's kind of interesting. Look at how linear it is. Jumbos average a completion rate of 49%. Large companies average a completion rate of 50%. 51 and 52 for medium and small. The rating for those groups also, with the exception of that one outlier that I was telling you about, 4.87, 4.88, 4.93, 4.94. That is just as we would expect it. But look at the bottom 10. Right? I know for a fact in conversations that there are institutional things where it's, again, it comes back to those journeys and those, because every loan officer in the bottom 10, it can't always be them. Right? In fact, it's impossible for these numbers. These numbers are telling us a different story. And again, kudos to all of the folks. You know, as a rule, TMC members do very good. They're kicking butt. Here is the company-wide last year average completion percentage. So every loan lender on our platform, this was their averages. So you should think about yourself. Now, if you're sending out partner surveys and you find yourself just below that 48.5, that's okay. Partner surveys are a little bit lower, and it's an aggregate score. So more is more, though, in that case. All right. What are we learning? What did we learn in all the conversations? Why is there disparity? Let's start with the core things that we know about the different business models. I've been in this industry for a long time. I built automated lending platforms. I've done, you know, hundreds of loans. I've been on the real estate side. I've built lots of software for this industry. Love this industry. I know the industry. I know hedging and I understand servicing and the 21-day handoff and wholesale and correspondent and direct to consumer. I get the models. I understand that some people buy servicing and refinance into it as a route to market. I understand the models. And so I want to spend some time talking about some things that just cause the numbers to be different. First off, companies that the more highly autonomous they are, in most cases, that will adjust the numbers slightly, right? We see direct, you have different business models. CD, that adjusts the number slightly as well. Consumer direct always it performs. We do have a company that performs crazy well because they've dialed in the journeys. But as a rule, CD is going to be slightly worse on the results. The biggest one, by far and away, the biggest one where the most issues are found is this emerging model built around passing the loan. The loan officer only has it for this much time. This person only has it for this much time. And this passing of the loan creates a lot of stress and pressure and anxiety for customers, and it creates a lot of communication gaps, and it demands that you machine communication and continuity of process, that you map it just as well as you've mapped everything else in your business. It really is a big outlier. Slight adjustment for size of company. Like I showed you a second ago, bigger companies, slightly lower. Distributed retail performed better than direct to consumer and call center, except we had one call center outproduce 99% of our distributed retail partners. Engagement and satisfaction show a correlation. The more that your team is engaged, believe it or not, in our platform, there's a correlation between consumer sat. Almost no adjustment for more questions versus less questions. We've been peddling that wrong, I think. It seems like 6 or 7 questions is not really having that big of a negative impact on completion. Where it does hurt you is secondary workflows, right? If you want to take reviews to Google, or if you want to get those customers to write a second review on Facebook or Google or Zillow or something, that you do see a drop off when the more questions you ask. And then partner reviews themselves, which did not come into this data at all, they are completing at less than 40% completion rate, which is additive, right? You're still getting the high completion rates for your customer surveys, but your partner surveys, you get, there's just more surveys. So it's actually a fantastic thing. All right, known issues. Let's talk about really, and this is why I said it's a little encrypted here. If you get this, it's gonna be hard to understand. Passing the baton, I said that a second ago. These loans that go from this person to this person to this person, really setting expectations, automating communication, creating efficiencies, understanding the journey. I think this is one that you really, if you're doing it, you really have to look at the data, and probably you should start asking more questions at different points in the process, creating more human level accountability at each level of the handoff so that they know, so you're measuring what matters in that case. Transition loans with new hires. I see this over and over. Companies speak about, well, you give it to Joe, and while your name is coming, getting updated on the NMLS, Joe will handle it, and we give Joe a couple bits. And interestingly enough, those are handled badly as much as they're handled well. Customers that when you recruit somebody and you bring them in, and then they just sort of have this, oh, Joe handled it. And I have seen some companies that really dial it in. They hire a person, that person focuses on it. They have communication, they have SLAs, they have exact standards, they have scripts, they have, this is exactly what happens, this is how it happens. They pay that person a meaningful amount of money on the loan because they actually have to do the loan. They have scripts like, I will be handling your loan. We are switching his license from the NMLS, but I have all the information. We'll make sure, but everyone's sort of afraid to lose the recruit because you're still in the recruiting and the selling phase there. The transition loans hurt recruiting transitions, and they hurt SAT numbers most often. No good deed goes unpunished. As I look through the data, less today because everyone's refinancing, but the data often shows that no good deed goes unpunished when it comes to trying to do people a favor on the hard loans. No matter how, like you should almost create processes internally that change the rules of engagement so that your people can't, I would love to know, like, what percentage of your loans are the impossible loans that you guys get done? Like, is it 2%? Is it 1%? Is it, because it's a meaningful number of unsatisfied customers. I'd like to understand how those close, how many concessions, what's the lock pull through. I'd really like to get to the why are we doing these loans? If it's always thankless, we work so hard, we have to get their credit up, we have to do this, we have to do that, and then we get to the end and they're telling us, oh, the communication was terrible. They kept asking me for docs again and again. I'm just thinking, it is going to be a tough experience if it's a hard situation. Here's the other thing, and I think it correlates to that exactly. And this is one we weren't expecting. The lower producers almost always have lower SAT. Right? Unbelievable that the folks that are doing 200-300 loans it seems to almost always have the highest SAT rating. Right? When we started, we were saying, oh, it'll give you another index so you can start rewarding other people because your highest producers aren't always your best at delivering SAT. It's funny how high producers work. It was like that for about 6-8 months in our infancy. But as they started to engage, they just win. So they just change the rules for their team. They change the rules how they communicate. They start expecting that you start measuring it. They start expecting different things of themselves. Higher producers produce in every way. Lower producers almost always have lower SAT. And then the next one is something that I'm very passionate about. Right? And I don't know how you get over this at a company level, but the outlier asshole, we've given you the data, and it's a brilliant management tool. You can literally log in and look at the data and say to yourself, this person does 15 loans a year. Their lock pull through is this. Almost every customer is upset with them. Do we want this person? Now, I'm not telling you to go fire all of your underperformers. I'm not. But I will tell you that a lot of your SAT that is not internally, a lot of the SAT issues, and again, if everybody's in the 90s, then everyone's doing really well, right? But if you're competitive and you like to win and you start thinking about where are the issues, where are the bodies buried that we need to say, there's connectivity issues, there's communication issues, there's, right? If you're saying those things, I just want you to know that buried in your data, as we reward the people on the top of the list, pull a report, figure out who's doing some volumes and constantly has 3 stars. And eventually you have to say, it can't be everybody else. It can't be all your customers, right? In some situations, you'll be like, not really an asshole. We give them all those transition loans and we didn't give them a great process to work with. So that's our fault. But in a lot of cases, it's just a bad producer who doesn't care about SAT and nothing's ever their fault. So, all right. Here's some of the things that I think that you could, some of you are gonna be like, we've nailed that. So if you're nailing all of this, you should feel good. I don't know a lot about Lime Gear, right? But I do think that scorecards matter. You measure what matters, right? You're using us not just for the online benefits and for the new business. You're using us because it's a measurement tool and it's an engagement tool and it powers outcomes for your business. And so I just put stuff on the left there. I don't know what you would use as a scorecard. I don't know what you can use from a compensation standpoint. Some of these things you can, some of these things you can't use. But I know that Lori, we all love Lori Brewer, right? Is that right, Lori Brewer? Tom?
That's right.
That's right. So we love Lori, and she came out with a and she hasn't even integrated with SocialSurvey yet. So damn it, we got to get that done. But and we will. But it's a scorecard system, right? You know, lock, pull through, and in volume and in other things to build scorecards. It's literally about all the things that matter, right? Do you have the visibility to know who your true highest producer is? Because it's not a count. Who your best producer is in every way. Because if your lock pull through is costing you money, if they're making concessions on every deal, if based on the way they get paid and the way they make concessions, and if their customers aren't happy, right? And then on the other hand, maybe somebody's doing fewer loans, but they've got an 85 or 90% lock pull through and they've never given concessions and their customers are super happy. Your margin, I'd love to understand the way your margin works on that employee versus another. And then I'd also like for you to be able to take a real good look at the bottom, those outlier assholes, right? I'd love for you to be able to look at it and say, you know, it's worth dealing with this guy. Let's get him trained. Or we got to get rid of this person because in every way, they're not good for the company. And so I put Lime Gear up there. We love Lori. This is a new thing. I think she's in beta and we got to get her to partner with us. But it just illustrates that there is technology out there that can help you with this. All right. When I interview some of your colleagues, some of your peers at other companies, this is what I find. The best producers often have automation and communication. They often are doing a lot of it for them. They have expectations, measurement, and process when they hire new people. They have rules that they stick to and they measure so that transition loans are taken care of. They measure more often, right? And they think about their business and their channels a little differently. I want to get into that in a second. And then they're really connected to their journeys. This may be a good, if you have a chance to send the rest of this video to a marketer or someone on CX in CX at your company, or even if you just are looking for operational efficiencies, I think as leaders, we really have to begin to understand every customer journey at a whole different level. Right? That's ultimately how we make incremental change and get better. Right? And prioritize what we should do next. If you look, I pulled up two examples that I found in 2 seconds by just going to any customer, right? From yesterday. So it's not like I went looking. I just went to account and said, show me the last 2 bad reviews, and here they are. And it seems I was dealing with two people and they didn't know what the right hand was telling the left hand. They need to be more informed with each other. Second one, process was actually good until the end. Lack of communication within departments. It took me seconds to find those two examples. Connections in the process, automation and communication, understanding the whole customer journey. All right, today's presentation was supposed to, I hope that all of that was additive. I just want everyone to understand that the data is telling us that some companies have efficiencies operational that other companies don't have. All the companies, most of the companies are doing well, right? Very well, especially on post-close. But there is, if you're competitive and you want to figure out how to continue to get better and how to be the leader in every one of those benchmarks, which I think you should try, I hope that some of that helped today. Love to, if you want to go deeper, love to sit down with you and just roadmap it and see, and just we can be wonderfully positive and brutally honest with each other, because we all care about the same things here. We're all in this together, and so that's that. I hope that no one ever gets offended. I didn't show any company names. I just wanted to show you that for me, as my management style is, once something's working, I'm probably not focused on it anymore. And so I go to where's the delta? Where can we still improve? All right. Create WoW Customer Experiences is a book that I wrote, really just helping companies design their best, perfecting sort of a strategy for building CX program internally. And so if you want a copy, please just tell us. We'll send you a copy, no question. We'll get you a copy for free. We also have a summit coming up. We can't do the Create WoW this year. Next year, we're going to move it to Nashville, and we're going to go big. We're way more horizontal these days than we have been in the past from a vertical. But our first love is the mortgage industry, and that's where we come from. So this year's summit will have that flavor to it. But we are going to do some real CX training, and we are going to do some releases of a new platform that I'm going to give you some insight into today. And so we've made, if you go on right away, the summit's free. We put it free. And if you're a TMC member, we've ordered the Hydro Flasks and the shirts and all the swag, and you get it for like nearly half price, like $39 if you want the box. So it's not about making money. It's just trying to cover some of the costs of that. So if you want that, just put in promo code TMC when you go to experience2020.com, and we'll get you the box. And if you don't want the goodies, just register. It's free. Make sure you do it in the next week or so. All right. In the book, where am I on time? All right, 4:33. I got a couple minutes. So in the book, we think about CX and building your program differently. So with the rest of my time, I want to challenge companies within TMC to think about their organization more globally, to think about CX and the solutions in CX collectively. And so what does that mean? That means in the past, we've come from a place where CX was about collecting long-form surveys and making data-driven decisions. And so we've used products like, let me go back to that. We've used products like Forrester and Sat Metrics and Merits and some of these companies, and we focused on data. But today, our companies are different, right? Our marketers, we have to do so much more than just long-form surveys. And those of you that use us, I mean, we do a lot more with the data. We understand now that where that data belongs and all the other places it belongs. But as marketers, this isn't even close to the list we have to think about with regards to CSAT and employee SAT, right? What are our people saying online? What are people online saying about our brand, right? If you want to win SEO, it's about backlinks and Google My Business and listings management. If you want to win online, you have to add to it third-party reviews management, and you have to get the reviews on your website. You still have to think about all that reporting and those data-driven decisions. We've spoken mostly about that today. But even your websites now can't live in a silo. Your websites are nothing more for your loan officers or for your branches. They're nothing more today than business listings pages. You have to have the same consistent citation data that all the other sites have, right? It is very different landscape. The way we buy is different. We buy on Amazon and we buy based on reviews, and most of us read the bad ones first. Social proof is a real thing. The way people choose referrals now. I refer somebody, they're not going to just trust me. They're going to go look that person up. It's very different the way we buy. Many of us probably have 3 or 4 boxes a day coming to the house. And so our jobs have evolved, and the way we think about it needs to be different, right? We still have to collect data. We still have to understand journeys within our organization, but then we also have to think about how we drive behavior and engage people. What outcomes are we trying to drive? What behaviors are we trying to drive? If you're in that situation where you have that pass the baton model, you should be measuring and trying to drive behavior and engagement at every point in the baton path. And then finally, it's outcomes. And this is where we get hung up, because we think about outcomes like, I need listings management, I should call Yext. We aren't, as marketers, we're not yet connecting the outcome and the CSAT, the experience data, although it's the same data, right? If I want third-party reviews, if I want reviews on Google, I might go to Podium. If I want to listen to what people are saying about me online, I might go to BrandWatch. If I want to monitor what my people are saying online, I might go to Smarsh, right? It's interesting the way that we haven't evolved yet to understanding that, and I'm not done. Understanding the way the connectivity of the parts. And so in a few minutes here, let's just think about your company differently, right? I'm giving you a sneak peek into our new platform. I do want to say that if not for you guys, if not for the mortgage industry, if not for our partner advisory board, if not for members at TMC that have constantly been a part of our board, that have come to our events, that have asked us, can you do this and can you do this? We would not have the visibility we have. And so this is the culmination of that. But so thank you big time for this future that we have today. But now I want to use the new platform to get you to think differently about your business, right? Or to think holistically about CX and creating great customer experiences for your employees and your customers, and how you automate that and how you drive business outcomes. So first you have to think about your organization. So if you're taking notes, or if you get a second, the first thing you should do is you should say, what are my business channels? We're buying servicing. Servicing would be a business channel. We've got wholesale, account executives. Wholesale is a business channel. We've got direct to consumer. We've got distributed retail. What are your business channels? Those would be, to us, those would be accounts, right? Because each of those have people who you'd like to drive behavior and have measurement and understand customer journeys to make data-driven decisions and drive business outcomes. Second to that, you want to think about departments. HR would probably want to measure employee satisfaction, should want to measure employee satisfaction. And so let's start there. We got some examples, and then we log in to a single account. And to us, account has a hierarchy. And a hierarchy has people reporting to teams, reporting to locations, reporting to management, reporting to regions, however it is. And these are hierarchies and people that you want to empower with the data, and you want to set up automated workflows so that you can drive behavior and power outcomes without you having to do it yourself every day. And then what is the data you want to collect? See, in our last iteration, you could just do post-closing, and you could do a realtor survey, or you could create a whole nother account for mid-process surveys. But what this data that we pulled out and I'm sharing with you today is telling us is that we need more and different moments to measure. And so now, I don't care how many data feeds you bring in, or how many moments you want to measure, or what percentage of customers you want to measure at what percentage of time, or what conditions you want to set for that measurement. So long as it's a part of that hierarchy within that account, you really think about, okay, imagine this, we have the baton, pass the baton. So the first one, maybe it's the person taking the application. Maybe there's a quick, maybe there's a quick survey. The second they pass the baton, it triggers, hey, how was your application process? 1, 2 questions. This could be the application. This could be processing and documentation. So you could actually measure each person at every phase. What about distributed retail? Mid-process survey. How's it going so far? Closing survey. You could send purchasers one survey. Maybe you want to get different information from purchases as you get from refinances. Maybe you want a whole nother business use case survey for real estate agents so they don't get the same questions. Maybe you just want to ask them if they're going to use you again. Maybe you want to put in, take you to lunch, whatever it is you want to do with the survey as a business use case. Many of us have used Stratmore. They've been great partners to the industry for years. And they do long form surveys. And some of us, but the problem with long form surveys is they don't do anything. Right? I think Stratmore has started to do some of our workflows like with Zillow and that, but maybe you want to do an operational long form survey to 10% of your customers to really understand all the journeys. Maybe you want to, when you find an unhappy customer, send them on another pathway so you can dig in even deeper. And so the way we think about the data pillar is very different. It's about processes and parts of the journey. The way we're thinking now about the behavior, again, mostly because of the visibility that we have, is that we should build custom algorithms for each customer based on what they're trying to drive. And so now it's about mid-process surveys, it's about post-closing surveys, it's about long-form operational surveys, all taking the right pieces of that puzzle out and making that a part of the algorithm. Right? Whether we're helping you manage on the journeys or someone else is, we really think it's important based on the data we're seeing to understand the whole story across the whole customer journey. And so we think about data and behavior differently now. You should as well, right? When you're mapping this and you're thinking about it, it's the people and who are they reporting to. So it's the organization, then it's the hierarchy, and then it's the measurement moments, and then it's the behaviors and the people that are driving those outcomes, right? Say that again. It's your organization and all your channels, units, departments. It's the hierarchy and the reporting guidelines within each of those. It's the moments that you want to measure and the people you want to measure, and then the people that are delivering the service that you want to try to drive behavior. So it's data and behavior. And then it's outcomes. If this is a servicing campaign, you're probably not going to do business listings. But business listings is using the same data in the hierarchy, and reviews management is using the same data in the hierarchy. Right? It's all the same data. Maybe your websites themselves, you want just to pull in our APIs so you have the exact same information, right? If nothing else from our conversation today, and this is you know, if most of you that are using us, you're already gonna get this, and we're gonna re-ideate your entire world when it comes to CSAT. If you're not using us, that's okay too. I hope that you understand what I'm really trying to say is behaviors with automation, driving behavior and engagement, collecting data across every major point in the journey, and then connecting those to outcomes, third-party reviews, social proof, social media monitoring, business listings management, connecting those to outcomes needs to all be connected. Otherwise, your life is going to be complicated, right? You'll never quite get there. This idea of checking boxes. I was at a company the other day, and across their 5 business units, they had 7 different products and were barely touching the surface. One long form survey over here. They had Bird Eye doing some stuff over here, and then they had another company doing other stuff. Really got to think about how you connect them. One more thing. HR, measuring satisfaction of employees. Think about it like this. What if these were departments and department heads? What if you measured when you recruit somebody, the recruiting journey? What about after you train them? What about 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year? What about pulse surveys that you do? What about connecting this to Active Directory and just letting it run? Connecting your happiest employees to Glassdoor and Indeed so you always win the recruiting space. Driving benchmarking across departments and looking for microcultures. You wouldn't use listings or some of these other things, but you'd think differently, right? That's exactly what I'm trying to get to today. To create WoW for your customers and your employees, you have to think differently about the organization, about all the problems you're trying to solve, about each business unit within the organization, about every journey that customers or business partners or employees take in within each of those business units, all the moments you're trying to measure, the behaviors you're trying to drive, and the outcomes you're trying to power. All right, Tom, that's my time.
Scott, that was fantastic. I mean, I was enthralled through the first half of the portion of the discussion, and then when you start to correlate it to kind of 2.0 of the experience, you know, it really kind of is eye-opening and fascinating, the different directions you can leverage this data and through process automation, to your point, throughout, to really drive behaviors that you are looking for from your team internally. And, you know, it seems honest, like with this rollout that it's endless.
Shame on us, because we talk to companies every day who really aren't there, who don't get it, who don't really understand. In fact, we talk to companies who, even after they use us and love us and would count us their favorite partner, buy point box checking solutions because we haven't even communicated that we saw, like we do those things. So there's a gap for us too. I want you to know, I'm always looking at our customer journeys ourselves and saying, you know, how do we measure better? How do we, you know, we have the software and we're not perfect at it. So.
Well, actually, I'll tell you what, that creates 2 quick questions for me, or for you from me. So did you do a beta for this 2.0 experience with some of your existing clients?
So alpha starts next week. So
okay.
Also, alpha starts next week. This is a preview that only a few people have seen. So you guys asked me to do this, so I thought I'd share it with our friends and family here at TMC. But alpha starts next week. The real launch is at the summit, and then beta, the bigger companies can have it. But we're not, like, the bigger companies are all getting, like, it's crazy, right? I mean, I'm not trying to pitch it. I'm always trying to pitch it, but But like, check this out. Let's say you have 500 locations and you have Google and Facebook and you have social survey reviews, and you want to manage all 500 locations reviews from one place. Literally, you click filter, you say, show me all my Google reviews, show me only the reviews I haven't replied to, show me only the ones under a certain score. And now you can do like because it's enterprise grade, and we've really evolved because of honestly mortgage and the complexities of mortgage been the blessing for us and why we're so far ahead on the product. You can literally do like hours of work in 2 minutes. And then we've added, people are saying, well, what about practitioner pages? And so our customers ask for that all the time. And so now we've added bulk listings and even practitioner publishing. So it's very enterprise grade. I mean, for smaller companies, it's really powerful, but for the bigger companies, it's game changer because they got lots of people trying to keep up with all this, or they're not doing it at all.
Right. And I mean, just the amount of data and search and filtering that you can do from this, from a dashboard perspective, kind of creates the reporting and the potential insights almost endless from it. So I appreciate you sharing a sneak peek with us. I'll be interested to see once it goes out, in alpha and beta to your clients, what the feedback comes back from, maybe, journeys that they're looking to incorporate throughout the loan process that are surprising from your perspective of having a lot of experience in different roles within lending as well. Obviously, from what you showed us, you've created a lot of those, checkpoints, if you will, kind of within the process of originating a loan to, survey out and see and keep tabs on the client experience throughout the production.
I love to talk to customers. I love to just say, okay,
yeah, why
are you so much better? And this is a collaborative industry, right? As you're proving. And so I never have trouble with them sitting down and saying, this is the problem and this is how we solved it. This was the journey and this is how we solved it. Right? If CX isn't your number one ROI, you're doing it wrong.
Right. There's too much you can leverage from the power of the platform to not be able to drive outcomes, to drive ROI and enhance not only the customer experience, but also your internal team processes throughout to streamline that communication on a level that the borrower finds to be exceptional and create WoW. Might as well say it, got the shirt. So
I love it.
I'm gonna put you on the spot real quick before we wrap up. From your perspective, where do you think social survey clients fail to maximize opportunities to create WoW through their client experiences, within leveraging the platform? Like, where is there something, common in their processes from communication or something that stands out?
We rely so much on the automation that we forget the power in the data otherwise. We're not where the system will improve you, right? It'll create accountability, it'll drive the right behaviors, but we've got so much to do. We're so focused on so many things that it's really hard. It ain't broke. And as soon as it ain't broke, they're not trying to fix it. And so when I go in and I look at the data and say, this is a problem and we got to figure out how to fix it, right? To them, their response rates are up, their Sat's up, right? To them, it's working. But we have to, I actually think and this is an evolution. It's happening in real time, right? We're seeing it happen in real time, where this hiring of CX professionals to really focus on every part of the journey and then really dig into the data. I mean, forever, it's the same with like Stratmore data, right? Forever, we just waited for their benchmarks to tell us what to think. But we have the data. We know who the outlier assholes are. We know where our weaknesses are. Our customers are telling us every day. And we're looking these through the filter of a 2-second soundbite and, oh, well, that wasn't our fault, or that wasn't, right? Instead of saying, we're consistently, what is this? 200% behind? And so I think that's where we go wrong, is that we're all so busy. We're not really focused on the rest of the story. Yeah, we could do a better job adopting new features that drive business outcomes. We could do a better job at understanding, we could do a better job making sure they understand the power of the rest of the story. But when it ain't broke, we don't focus on it because we're too damn busy all the time. And there's power in that data that we're just not leveraging.
That's a great point. And the most forward thinkers, not specific to our industry, but broadly in business, are not resting on their laurels because they have a successful strategy in place, knowing that the game is constantly changing. You've got to push yourself and pride yourself, to your point, to leverage the data to do better and create better experiences, and not just, sit back because it's not broke and keep originating away.
The best of us in this industry, they really get journey mapping. They get seminal journeys, where they get every piece of the, I've sat down with some of the experts that they've taken it to reset password journey and mapped everything and figured out where any break was or where any customers got lost, and sit and watched heat maps. And I mean, this is one tiny crazy example that may be overkill for you right now, but every little piece of every customer journey, whether it's web or people or any interaction, where they know every journey. Now, some of this you turn into a labor of love, and that's not okay, right? It just takes too much time. But some of it, if they're seminal journeys, means they're super important. You ought to know every meaningful place along that journey, and you ought to have data that tells you where you need to improve, because slight improvements can create big wins in conversion.
And you know what? On that note, I think that's a great place to close it out right there. So Scott, I want to first off thank you again. This was a really awesome look through into what you're rolling out, and really taking it next level about, creating those disciplines and leveraging data and automation to drive behaviors that lead to success. So I always appreciate when you're able to kind of holistically bring it all together, and then, sharing us a sneak peek at what's coming next is truly exciting too. So I just want to thank you again for excellent discussion today.
No worries. All right. Hey guys, thanks everybody for being on. We'll get a list from Tom. We'll get everybody a book out, and hopefully you'll go on it to Amazon and write a good review for me. So
you better, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And reminder, we'll have that TMC specific code for the CX experience in that follow-up communication tomorrow too. So free event. A lot of great insights you can take away from it. So do be sure to register for that September 14th through the 16th.
All right, guys. Hey, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Tom. Keep.
Thank you, Scott.
Keep wearing that swag.
You got it.
All right. Later, man.